Hey guys, welcome back. This is part 3 of my MCU retrospective. Today I'll be doing all the shows, all of them. But today I am only excluding Disney Plus shows that are part of Phase 4, including Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Loki, What If, Hawkeye, and anything else like that. Also guys, there's one more crucial thing you need to know. My TV ranking is significantly different from my movie ranking. For TV shows, anything under 70 is a failing, or 7.0 is failing. And 9.4 and up means the show or season is great. Without further ado, let's get into it. Also, my rating system for TV shows is as follows. Anything below a 6.7 is failing. 6.7 to a 9.3 is where from meant to good. And 9.4 to 10 is amazing. Out of all the shows that the MCU has ever made, I believe that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is easily the most cable-like. It just feels like a normal TV show. The show starts off with its first season. It is the most grounded out of all of the seasons, and it's pretty solid. It's like a standard TV show with a little bit of superhero flair, which makes it interesting. The characters are all good enough and engaging, and that stays that way throughout the show. And the twist ending of Season 1 proves that it is a strong show and a solid foundation for the rest of it. Season 2 started off better than ever, until it started trying to include many other plot points and making up its own characters, which became convoluted by the end of the season, making it worse than Season 1. Season 3 again picks back up, introducing many cosmic and alien elements, explaining a bunch of plot holes that were left in the other seasons. Many believe that this is one of the best seasons of the show. I still don't think so, but I think it is a welcome change of pace to Season 2. Season 4, on the other hand, is a much darker season and a much cooler season. I mean, we have Ghost Rider, and we have Hydra and robots. I will say nothing else. Season 5, the show starts to go off the rails. I believe that this is the worst season of the show. It is the strangest and the most convoluted and inconsistent. I will say no more there. Season 6 is pretty much the same as Season 5. And Season 7, while it feels very low budget compared to the other ones, and inferior to the other ones, and very cheesy, the show at the end has a lot of heart and wraps up its characters better than many other shows. Season 7 gradually gets better and more interesting as it goes along. I give this show an 8.2 out of 10. Agent Carter may not be the most emotionally complex show on this list, or the deepest, or the highest in quality. It is definitely the most consistent in quality, which is something that nearly all of these shows lack, which is a major downfall for all of them. Agent Carter has a consistent quality, story, and character development throughout the entire show, which makes it very entertaining and a very easy, simple, and comfortable watch. That is also at the same time reliable, efficient, and a good show, as Peggy Carter, the character, is interesting, and the show's premise is interesting, and it stays that way through its runtime. The only reason I will put it as low as I am about to is because, again, it's not the most emotionally complex or the show that is the highest of quality. But otherwise, I do like this show a lot, and it is a great show. I give this show a 8.0 out of 10. I'm gonna be honest here. Daredevil is one of the best shows I've ever seen. A show with seemingly well-defined and perfect characters, phenomenal cinematography, emotion, story, character arcs, themes, action, villains, conflict, tension. Should I go on? This show seemingly masters everything that a perfect show would need to master. It is the most complete, efficient, and well done and executed and put together show that has ever been made by Marvel. But I think the best part of this show is, other than its writing, the fact that it is the most human superhero show that has ever been made, and the most morally defined show in this video. I don't think I can say anything that hasn't been said about this show. It is amazing. Go watch it for yourself. Season 1 is 10 out of 10. Season 3, nearly as good. And Season 2, almost perfect. I give this show a 9.7 out of 10. Luke Cage is a show that I find to be very overrated. The show does have its moments, mostly in the first season. It does feel very fresh, have compelling main characters, and a fine enough story, but it doesn't do anything too interesting or new to stand out to me. I give this show a 7 out of 10. That one was short. Jessica Jones, in its earliest stages, in its first season, is a great show, having a great and menacing villain, some brutal undertones of abuse, and a compelling main character and overarching plotline that made for a compelling and entertaining watch. The second season saw a major dip in quality. While not terrible, not nearly as well executed as the first season, and Season 3 being much better than Season 2, but failing to reach the highs of emotional intimacy of Season 1, overall leaving us with the most disappointing season yet. The biggest thing I think Jessica Jones suffers from is inconsistency. Otherwise, it's a pretty great show, and better than many others on this list. But I cannot ignore the latter seasons. I give the show a 7.9 out of 10. Okay, I know there's plenty of people that like this show, but Iron Fist does not click for me on any level. The show is not good to me as entertainment or on any critical level at all. The show barely seems to understand its main character and is completely uninteresting throughout. With that said, I give this show a 5 out of 10 for having some moments. Out of all the MCU shows, Marvel's The Punisher is easily the most underrated and overlooked. It feels the most prestigious out of all the shows that have ever been made by Marvel in the MCU. The show deals with some very dark things, making it a great show, great tone, and great atmosphere for The Punisher. Frank Castle is a broken man, and we really get time, at least in the first season, to sit with the man Frank Castle is and who he will become. We sit with his anger, his rage, we sympathize with him, but at other times we are disgusted by him. The show can sometimes be hard to watch and boring, but keep in mind that this is a slow burn, and when it pays off and when it gets good and it pays off. John Bernthal is also easily the greatest and most accurate Punisher. I love how they adapt Punisher's story to modern day. It's such a great show with great action, great tension, and great themes. Overall, you should watch it. Even though Season 2 isn't as great and feels more comic booky, it still delivers. I give this show an 8.4 out of 10. I don't think I need to explain myself very much for this one. This is not a good show, and it is hated for good reason. I would say that's not as bad as everybody else has, but yeah, it's very lackluster, very boring, very unoriginal, basically a ripoff of Thor. And I actually was engaged for the first 4 episodes, but nothing happened. There's no growth. Absolutely nothing happens in this show. It is completely pointless and not very good at all. So sadly, I have to give this show a 1.5 out of 10, predictably. The next show on this list is easily the most disappointing, with The Defenders being a widely hated show and an utterly boring one. Not a terrible show by any means, but nowhere close to as great as it could have been and as it should have been. With terrible villains, 0 character development, almost no chemistry between the characters, and a bonkers plot, just leaves the show undefined. The show doesn't seem like it knows what it wants to be, and it doesn't really try to be anything too good, too insane, too impressive. And it wastes all of its great characters. With the exception of Iron Fist, all 4 of the main cast members have had great shows prior. But sadly, the show is just completely lackluster and disappointing. Not much more I can say about it. I wish I could love the show. There's a few parts that I really liked, but overall, I give the show a 6.7 out of 10. Honestly, The Runaways is a very strange show. From its premise to its execution to just its story and source material in general. Out of all the things that Marvel would pick to turn into a series, this would not be one that you would expect. Yet, it is pretty good. From the beginning, the show was compelling and intriguing, has great central villains, and its main characters are all great, relatable, and compelling. But even though the show falters throughout its 3-season-long run, the thing that keeps it strong is its characters and their natural, logical, emotional progression and reactions to situations, and that makes the show so great. I give the show an 8 out of 10. Also, it has a Velociraptor in it, so extra points. The next show in this video, being Cloak and Dagger, is a underrated show, but not by much. The show honestly doesn't have much to offer, but for what it is, it's a good show. It's a nice look into a different side of the MCU, and it does have compelling leads. I give this show a 7.2 out of 10. Honestly, I was never a fan of this show when it first came out. I wasn't understanding all the hype. Honestly, the show is not great. I can't say one thing redeemable about it, and for me, I wasn't really entertained. But this is one of 2 Marvel properties that they have made a movie or a TV show about that I have not known about prior. I promise you, I have not known about Hellstrom or everything about the show Legion, even though I knew quite a bit beforehand. Because of a lack of redeemable traits and good things I have to say about it, I give Hellstrom a 3.4 out of 10.